Welcome, guys, to another episode of This Could Be Something Interesting. And today we have a special guest joining me on the podcast. We've got Chris Walker. And Chris, I don't even know how to introduce you at the moment, given this journey and evolution that you've been on. For what I will say for context for anyone listening right now, Chris has run very successful 8-figure business, hundreds of employees. You had one of the top marketing podcasts in the world. And you've been on a bit of a shift recently to what you described as the way you see your life has been flipped upside down. So this is probably a pretty big question to start with, but help us to understand what has happened. Take us through kind of where you were, because I guess that's important, like context from kind of, where you started to then what's happening in your life now.
So, for a majority of my life, I operated from what I'll call a version 1.0 operating system of a human, which is driven through fear, scarcity, controlled by time, urgency, feeling like you're behind, feeling like time controls you, feeling like everything outside of you is happening to you. And that you have no control over how this is all going. It's the lowest level operating system of a human, and probably somewhere around 70% of all humans on this earth right now operate in that system. So I spent most of my life living in that system. And through me building a business starting in 2019 and rapidly scaling to 2022, thinking and being sold the idea that if I just get more followers and I just make more money and I just have more employees, then I'll feel better about myself and I'll be happy. And realizing clearly that when you put things outside of you in charge of you, you end up being a slave and have no control over your own reality or how you feel. It's all dependent on the things outside of you. And so that was a huge moment for me. When my business started to through the SaaS crash beginning in 2022, as my revenue and my business started to decline, my feeling of self-worth declined rapidly with it. And this is a story that many entrepreneurs will resonate with. So then all of a sudden you go from, oh, my business is doing so good. I feel so good. I'm successful because I'm achieving something, or I feel good because I'm achieving something. And then that achievement starts to fall outside of your expectations. And all of a sudden you feel like you're worthless. You feel like you have no self-worth. So that was a big one, shifting from everything outside of me controls how I'm feeling to I control how I feel. And through that, I can dictate or co-create what I experience in reality. Which is, if you pay attention, you will realize that is fundamentally true always. When you enter a place and you feel grief, shame, guilt, some low vibration emotion, that place will look and feel the exact same way that you feel. And if you enter the exact same place from happiness, bliss, peacefulness, whatever that emotion is, that place will be completely different. And so we don't see the world the way it is. We see the world the way we are. And so that was the big moment for me where I said, hey, like everything that I've been sold up until this time and everything that I've been told for the past 32 years of my life isn't working for me anymore. It's come to a point where this isn't working. Like I've chased this for so long. I've done everything that I'm supposed to do. I feel like I have no time freedom, no social freedom, no location freedom. Sure, I have money in my bank, and money in my bank account. I have followers, but I feel like I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. I don't feel creative or free or anything. Like, what is this whole thing? So I like
Mm.
basically started to break this structure that I was living in, beginning in 2023. Um, the first step was putting my business partner in charge of my first business, Megan Bowen. She's done an incredible job. She's been such a great partner to me running Refine Labs. It's been great for our team, our customers, everything. In hindsight, I should have done that 2 years earlier than I did.
Yeah.
And my ego, need for control, lack of experience, other things like that kept me in a position where I wanted to be the CEO of the big company rather than fulfilling the role that I am designed and meant to fulfill. That was a huge level of self-awareness. So she became part of this business, and I started a second business, a software AI company called Paceto, in 2024. And through that business, I basically had an experience happen to me in mid 2024, which is not the first time that it happened, but it was the first time that I was like, whoa, like this is something way different than what I thought it was. Um, where my fingers started, I got back from a vacation or something like that. My fingers started to tingle at like 2 in the morning. Then it feel like there was electricity running through my veins. Then it felt like this massive, like overpowering level of euphoria. And then it felt like time stopped and I accessed the future, which actually exists now.
Mm.
Just we are controlled by linear time, and so we are not aware that the past, present, and future are all occurring right now. So I was able to access basically future things, see energetically what's happening about where my business goes, and I built a 5-year business plan in 5 minutes in my head. Um, and I was like, "Whoa, something is going on here." Um, And so that was my first sort of realization of something was different. That had happened, that experience like that had happened to me before in 2020 to 2023. Uh, However, I didn't talk about it and I didn't recognize it as
Mm.
different or unique or something like that. And that starting in like October, I started to tell people about it. I didn't know how to describe it, so I would just call it my superpower. Like my
Mm.
superpower is that my
Mm.
fingers tingle and I get energy and I can access the future, and everything that I've accessed so far has become real exactly as I saw it. It's basically
Yeah.
how I would describe it. Um, and then all of a sudden, people started showing up. This guy named Jesse, who is basically like, I've seen people like you before. I can help you. This girl named Becca, who was I need to help you. Like these people start showing up, um, and basically like rapidly accelerated the stuff that was happening to me. Where before it would be random every 3 months, and now something like this happens to me every 3 to 7 days. I would say now. Um, and so one of those events happened in February, where I accessed this vision for Encoded, which is a 10 to 20. I don't look at time in linear time anymore, but my estimate would be a 10 to 20 year like 3D reality time vision, that continues to break down the current reality that everybody currently lives in, that is controlled by currency, authority, government, societal conditioning, terrible education systems that program all of these powers out of kids and people. Um, the whole thing, I believe, is broken, and many people love living in it. And so that's
Mm.
totally fine. But in the future, there will be a divergence of humanity, and you'll have the people
Well,
that continue to be more and more like robots, Oculus, Neuralink, self-driving cars, ultra productivity, sit at a desk all day, wear an AI mask, become a computer. And then you'll have people that see this path where humans elevate to a level that can't to levels and powers that can't be replicated by a computer.
I mean, well, people
so
love
I see that.
familiarity, right? It's that kind of like comfort and familiarity that I think everyone
Comfort
is
and
drawn
safety.
to. And exactly, yeah. And what you're describing is flipping scary. Like it's a complete paradigm shift. So, it's,
It's weird. Yeah. It's intellectually, people might find it scary. Um, but it is the most powerful, blissful, incredible thing ever. There's nothing to be scared of.
it's really
What's scary?
fascinating.
No, sorry. What's
Go.
scary is looking in the mirror and facing the things that are blocking you from experiencing it. And so the
Very true.
reality is that all humans are capable of this, capable of these things. However, so it's built in them. It's not like you have to go out there and learn a bunch of stuff and become someone else. It is you. But
Mm,
there's all these things, this grease and dust and levels and stuff that gets in the way of you seeing who you really are. Those things include terrible habits like alcohol, drugs, sitting all day, watching porn, like whatever, artificial dopamine hits. So that's the first layer. Then you have societal conditioning that you follow. Like I need to get married at 27. And when I get married, I guess I'll have a bachelor party, which is the fucking opposite way that you would ever want to start a marriage. But somehow we do this in society all the time. It makes no fucking sense. And I'll think that politics and the government have authority over me, and I'll like fall in line with all of this societal conditioning and programming and not question it. Just walk in a line.
mm,
I will doubt myself over and over about, hey, I like feel like that something is different here, and I feel like I should leave this relationship. I feel like I should leave this job. I feel like I'm called to start this company, but you don't do it. You feel it inside of you, and then you suppress it, ignore it, make a spreadsheet about it, ask 7 people, basically logically talk yourself out of what you know you should do. Those are like certain examples. And then you have all of these underlying conditionings of like I need to control things. I need to maximize my financial gain because my worth is tied up in my productivity or my achievement. Um, I'm a peacemaker, aka I avoid conflicts. You create these
mm,
stories around how it's a good thing. I'm an achiever. I'm a pet independent. I'm a peacemaker. You identify with this identity, which is basically just a polite way of hiding the things that are blocking you. Called a mask.
yeah.
And so over time, I've been able to see right through the masks now that I've worked through my own.
Yeah.
So I'm able to see this is who the person really is. These are the masks that they wear on top of that, so they don't even see who they really are. Let me help them remove these masks, basically.
Love that. It's
Yeah.
it's so true. Like the amount of conditioning I think that we are just unconsciously exposed to every day. Like I've told this story before, but I actually went on, you'll probably find this quite interesting. So I did a 10-day silent meditation retreat called a Vipassana, a couple of years ago now. And I had it's probably the fourth day, I think, I had a very, very similar experience to that tingling sensation you described. And my whole body kind of just turned into vibrations. Like my body didn't even exist anymore. I just felt this kind of wave of energy and this kind of inexplicable bliss that I just felt for like 20 minutes. But then as soon as I started clinging on to that sensation, it disappeared. And it's that kind of like, and I think that was kind of like what the whole teaching for this was just be present. Like, don't cling on to anything and don't try and avoid anything. Whatever comes up, just like be okay with it. Just like listen to whatever your body is doing, whatever your body is saying. And it's like when you can just listen and not be like, this is good or this is bad, that's when those kind of sensations came up and you do start to experience like, holy shit, there's more to me than just this sack of meat. Basically, right? It's super fascinating. So
Indeed.
where, like, how, what I'm super interested by is like, this is, I mean, you mentioned something earlier actually, in that you had this kind of sensation come up in 2020, did you say originally?
Starting in 2020, probably every
2020.
3 months it would happen. And that was like the visions for what Refine Labs became. So when it was a million in revenue and 4 employees, I saw what it looked like in 2022 and it became exactly what I saw.
So how did you, because I can imagine like sometimes it, like experiences like that, it can feel, you kind of think people are going to look at me like I'm crazy, right? If I tell them this has been happening to me. How did you eventually kind of become okay to, because there may be people listening to this right now who have felt a similar thing, but they've kind of just ignored it or kind of brushed it under the carpet because maybe they're embarrassed, right? Maybe they feel like if they tell their friends or family or speak to someone about it, they're going to think they're crazy. Like how did you kind of become
Mm.
okay with talking about that?
So I personally, and my experience with other people that have had stuff like this happen to them, and to be clear, like my powers that I experience personally are different than other people's things
Mm,
that they
mm,
experience. So there are different roles that you can play,
yep.
and those roles have different powers, and then how you experience the power. Like one person that has a skill like mine won't get the fingertips tingling. Their
Yeah,
physical
yeah.
sensation will be different, but the effect will be the same. Um, and so, but to me, it wasn't about I'm embarrassed to tell people about it. It was a lack of awareness and appreciation for how special it is. Okay.
Okay.
And so I see that in others today where, um, like for instance, one person that I speak with a lot, um, would describe it as I have a protective shield around me.
Mm,
And basically my energy pulls in all these incredible things for me and repels things that aren't for me. And I can like, basically like, and they're like, it's just me, right? And I'm like, have you thought about how else you could use that? Like, have you experimented with emitting different frequencies and seeing what happens? And there's a lot more to it. But like, it was just like me. You sit there in that state and just say, oh, this is me. This is normal. Like, it's not
mm,
special. I guess the feeling for me was this isn't special. Like other
got it.
people experience. So it's more of a lack of awareness for it. Um, and then eventually through the removal of conditioning and other things, eventually your body will make it undeniable that this is something that you can no longer ignore.
Mm,
And so that's what happened to me over time. The experiences started to get more intense in a good way. So intense doesn't mean bad, but more intense, more frequent, different different types of experiences or powers that are compounding on top of one another. It was just yesterday, the way I described it to my girlfriend, because now, as I mentioned before we started talking, um, it feels like once you break a certain layer, it feels like you're in an avalanche
mm,
almost. Um, Meaning that um, there's a effect that happens where time starts to fold. So, so that what used to feel like a minute now might feel like 10 minutes and eventually, so you start to stretch time. Basically, it's called time dilation. So you're able to stretch time unintentionally just based on the frequency that you operate in. So when you're at a super low vibration frequency and time controls you, you're always in a hurry. You feel like you're behind, you're urgent, you're rushing, and magically the day goes by like that, right? You have no control. You feel like time controls you, not the other way around. As you start operating at a higher frequency, you start to realize that, oh, I control time. Time doesn't control me. I can
mm.
stretch time. I can compress time. I can pause super high level scales. I can pause time.
Have you
Um,
ever read a book called The Holographic Universe by Michael Talbot?
I don't read. So at this point now, and it's important for me to mention this because many
Mm,
people say books to me, that it feels important for me that I basically experiences for, I feel like someone captaining a ship looking for new land without a map. And I feel like following other people's maps will get in the way. That I'll end up. So it's a really interesting thing that I've been blocking myself from, yeah,
Do
other
you know what? I like that
concepts.
you said that, because this is the interesting thing. Like, I've noticed actually, like when I've read books as well, sometimes I read books and I'm kind of like, oh yeah, I know this to be true. And you kind of think like, well, how would you know that to be true? So I think you're actually onto something there, because you're right. Like, intellectually, sometimes you can read something and it might not agree with you, but then it can cloud your internal wisdom potentially, right? And you're then down, like, that intellectual layer can then get in the way of what your body and what your inner wisdom actually knows. So I think that's actually a really interesting point about, so you're actually choosing not to read books and try and find wisdom
Books,
from like external
podcasts,
sources.
basically, like it's
Interesting.
a, once you, achieve a certain, I don't like the word level. It feels
Mm.
wrong because
Yeah.
it's not a
It's not like a
superiority.
hierarchy. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't feel better than anybody else, right? Like that's not
Yeah.
how it is. Um, I actually feel more through it. I feel more connected and empathetic
Mm.
and
Mm.
caring for everybody else. At a certain level, you realize that it's not about learning anymore. And so
Mm.
everybody is out there, and I've done this a lot, um, that they're like, oh, if I just like take that course and I just work harder and I try harder, and I understand it more, then eventually like it'll do something for me. And it boxes you into step by step linear progression, and it blocks you from quantum expansion and leaps.
Mm.
Um, and so beyond the third level, um, you realize that it's not intellectual anymore. It's
Mm.
I need to feel and embody these experiences in order to understand them, and that someone teaching me what to do, some secret tip, something like that, isn't how you actually achieve it.
Mm.
Um, and so it's just a transition to your own direct experiences. And I don't know. I feel a responsibility to humanity to have a clear, untainted picture of what is happening to me, to understand what's happening, communicate it back to people, show people a way, be able to see it in others, be able to help people watch out, help people understand it. I just feel in not in the best way possible. I feel a responsibility to humanity to do that, and I there's a piece of knowing yourself, and so now my energy is very sensitive to a certain idea. Like if I hear the idea, my body will light up if it's the right idea for me, and my
Mm.
stomach will twist if it's not. And whenever someone says, go and read that book, I get a twisting in my stomach like this isn't right, this is wrong. Um, I'll get it for big ideas, like do business with this person. I'll get it for small things, like the waiter sits you at a table and it's like, I don't want, this table doesn't feel right. Put me at that table feels
Mm.
better.
Mm.
And trusting it at all. People don't what I came to appreciate a lot is that the micro decisions, like move me to this table, create it, and listening to it, create a cascading impact across everything. You make one shift based on what you know, the rest of your life then dominoes fall in a different way. And so following each of those things, you get some compounding impact. And ironically, when you listen to, I'm going to move from this table to that one, move me to that table, then when you get the feeling of this business partnership isn't right for me, or this relationship isn't right for me, and you're like, I need to step away from this relationship or this partnership or whatever, you actually listen to it. You like
Mm.
build the muscle of listening to the small things so that when the big things happen, you have the confidence and trust. Trust is probably a better word than confidence to listen to the macro decisions too.
Mm. Was there anything that you can think of that you had done, Chris, over the past? Because it sounds like a lot of this has progressed and evolved, particularly over the last kind of 4 or 5 years now. Are there any kind of key events or things that you can think of that have allowed you to tap more into this power?
So in the earlier stages, let's call it that, the core signs and practices, the number one thing is a routine that I've now called subconscious reprogramming, um, which is the ability, usually having somebody help you is necessary because it's hard for you to see it for yourself at that level. The beliefs that you have that are not helping you, the subconscious way that you relate to your own identity in a fixed way, how when you operate at that level, you only see options that are close to the level that you already are. So you have limited thinking and perspective around what's possible, that someone else can come in and basically expose that all to you and then help you reprogram. The
Mm, mm,
reprogramming exercise is basically one, you have to go in and find all that stuff, which is a real process and you need some help. But then after that, it's a repetitive, ongoing thing of if I reprogram my thoughts and beliefs over time, I see that I have control over my reality. If I believe that I'm smart, confident, attractive, people want to be around me, all of a sudden over time, I'm getting smart, more confident, more attractive. If I believe that I'm an international speaker that speaks on big stages and get paid a lot of money to help people, then 6 months later, all of a sudden, wow, I'm on these stages and I'm speaking about them. And I 6 months ago, that seemed impossible. Like, how is this going on? You start to see how your thoughts and beliefs actually design reality and how you experience it. Massive unlock. Um, the second one is, and this is more of an outcome or more of a sign, but if you're not feeling this, then you know that something's wrong. Not wrong, but you know that you're not, it's a clear sign. You start to question everything about reality. You start to question everything about society. Why, why do I work from 9 to 5? Why are Saturday and Sunday the weekend and I act differently on Friday and Saturday than I do on the rest of the days of the week? Why do I go to bed at 2 in the morning on Saturday, but I go to bed at 8 p.m. on Wednesdays? What does the days of the week even mean? Like, why am I supposed to get married before I'm 27? Why do I feel like the only place that I can live is within the United States? Why do I sign up to pay taxes to the government all the time? What is this structure? What does money even what does money do? What are all the underlying control mechanisms that are created through money? Um, you start to question and see uh, a lot within how you live your life and how it does the opposite of make you feel free and give you
mm,
the ability to be creative. It traps you in a little jail. Like whether you're making $1 million a year or 100,000, it's just one extra zero in a digital number. It doesn't actually change much of anything, which is the crazy part. You just have a nicer car and have a bigger house and feel the same. You feel just as trapped as the person making 10 times less than you. Um, and so those are two of the earliest signs.
mm,
Um, the next the most impactful breakthrough one, and for me and others that I've spoken with, like mine had to be intense, chaotic, painful, like in order to get there,
mm, mm,
uh, because it's my role to go through that process to get to the level and then build the framework and process so that other people can go through it smoother, faster, without all the chaos. Like that's my contribution to society. Um, but for me, and it had to come with like basically like a close to a full life collapse.
yeah. I mean, you mentioned earlier,
Of
right? Your identity was kind of shattered at a point. So it's kind of like you're then having to rediscover
rebuilding
from that
what
place.
rebuilding what self-worth means, seeing what happens and what's available when you are not trying to control everything, whether you're trying to get control in a business partnership or relationship, control how things happen, control other people subconsciously. There's a need for financial gain, which the financial gain is just to like make yourself feel better or fill that need of self-worth. When you get rid of those things, you're like, holy shit, like I'm over here doing this tiny little thing in this area, and I see it as the only thing that I can do because I have tunnel vision around control and financial gain. So no wonder I'm doing this type of work for this type of company, for these type of people. And if I get rid of these, whoa, I zoom out and I see this full 360-degree picture, and there are 10 million other infinite possibilities of who I can be, what I could do. And then with that clarity, you can see, clearly, that's what I'm supposed to do. That's why I'm here. People look for, many people that I work with or try to help, are like, I'm looking for my purpose, right? And I feel purposeless. And that process that I just laid out is actually because your purpose is already in you. And this is like it's an ongoing belief that you really need to internalize and understand. When you're ready, you will. Like, it's already inside of you. You just have things that are getting in the way from you remembering what you're here to do. So that early stage, we can get into the other stuff, but for most humans, those three things are the most important to reach the next upgrade, for lack of a better way to say it.
I heard you you mentioned something on a video you did recently about kind of letting go of certain things, like any kind of negative energies in your life as well, which I thought was really profound, because it's kind of like, letting go of certain things to be able to make way for new things. Like if you kind of think, I guess, of us as like vessels almost, it's like if we're full of all this negative things that's holding us back, we're not making room for those new things. And I thought it was interesting what you said earlier as well about, as you've been on this journey, people have just started showing up in your life to support you with this. What has your experience what's been your experience with kind of letting go of things, and how do you kind of go through that process? Because a lot of the time it might be people or relationships that are quite close to us, right? Important to us.
That when I fully internalize, and it's not that I believe it, it's that I know it. It's different. That when I don't try to control what happens, things happen way better than I could have ever imagined. If I made a plan for where I would be today, 12 months ago, and I said, I'm going to follow this little plan, and here's how it's going to happen, I'd be 5 years behind where I am right now. Like, and I wouldn't have the amazing people in my life, and I wouldn't have done the right things. And it's because I'm trying to control how it happens based on my own ego. And so that, like, trusting and surrendering, which sound like two incredibly stereotypical words, and I'm well aware of it. But there's no other way to say it, and it's totally true. Removing the need to control and moving to trust and surrender and how things are all happening is a massive unlock to it. And what you find is that the wrong relationships and things like that dissolve. Like, you don't have to do anything. They fall away. The other person will, or the relationship will self-destruct if it's not ready or needed. Like, it's wild. And the right people get magnetized directly to you like it's meant to be. And there's that has been profound for me. Yeah.
I've certainly had the same experience of that as well. I mean, you mentioned you're not kind of reading books at the moment, but there was a book I read a while ago which just really internally resonated with me, called Power versus Force by David Hawkins. And he kind of talks about in that book about how kind of power is like surrendering to the outside world. Like, what is like, we can only control our internal state, right? Whereas force is trying to manipulate the outside world, right? It's kind of like we need to fight and change and plan and all of this stuff. And it's like, whereas power is just like just being still and just trusting that internal intuition. And I just thought like that, it just resonates so much. And you're absolutely right. It is one of those things where if you just kind of trust things, just like, oh, that's just fixed itself. It's kind of crazy how it happens like that.
Yeah, there's one thing on the like power versus force that was
Mm.
monumental to me. And so most people in the three-dimensional materialistic world will think that speed equals force times distance or whatever the calculation is, force times mass, right? I need to I need to be bigger and push harder. Um, and what I've found is actually quite interesting, which is that speed equals your frequency minus your drag or your resistance. And so
Wow.
the way to go
I love that.
faster is not to try to push harder, it's try to eliminate resistance, if that makes sense perfectly. So
Mm.
resistance could be
Yeah.
environmental resistance, social resistance, um, emotional uh, emotional resistance. There's probably 8 or 10 categories that you could look at for resistance. Um, and eliminating that stuff is actually what allows you to go faster, not trying to push harder. So if you think about it as an example, a skydiver doesn't try harder to go faster. They eliminate the resistance in the air that makes them go faster. So you as a human are already going super fucking fast. The problem is that you have so much
Mm.
resistance and drag that it's basically slows you down to nothing. And so it's a nice switch instead of trying to push harder
I love that.
to be aware of all the resistance that's happening and then eliminate that stuff.
That's such an awesome quote. How do you find, especially with this new mission you're on, right? And this kind of, you mentioned earlier, you kind of feel almost like now a responsibility to teaching this, the way that you're feeling and helping people to kind of tap into this for themselves. But like, I was thinking earlier about how language, like me and my brother had done a podcast on this a little while back about how language in itself can be such a barrier, right? Because there's so many like attachments and preconceived notions that we just have to words in themselves, right? Like if you mention vibrational frequencies to someone, you might have instantly lost them. And that person could have had a really profound breakthrough from what you were about to say, but just that word or that phrase has completely now just shut off their brain. They're no longer listening to you. Like, how do you think through, like, and I don't know if this is something that's kind of come to you yet and, anything you've been kind of thinking about, but like, how can we break down these blockers and barriers that language puts in place to allow people to tap into the powers that they have?
When you get, as I've explored this within myself, I can now clearly see the difference between the words somebody uses and what they're actually saying underneath it. You can see how they lie. I can
Mm,
feel how they lie to themselves energetically. When somebody's avoiding
mm,
something, I can feel it in my stomach. I can like feel them choking it down, and I can feel the energy they emit of the avoidance in my stomach and chest. Um, and so there is a clear symbol to me that there is a lot that goes on at different layers of communication that for most of my life I was totally oblivious to, and that most humans probably don't see. But there's so much communication underneath it, um, and so there is this concept that I've been fascinated with recently called the calibrated mirror frequency the calibrated mirror concept. And so imagine
Okay.
that there are a hundred people in a room. Okay. And all of those people are just, because they don't need anything from you. They have no ego. They reflect back pure truth of everybody else that looks at them. Okay. So imagine you have all these mirrors, and then you have one person that is selfish and out to get it and everything like that. And that person, that person's looking at all the mirrors and sees all of that, and all the mirrors see that in them. Okay. Nobody needs to say anything for for everybody in the room to know that person's selfish. And so there's that phenomenon is real. Not many humans do not have the capability to do it, but there are humans that are calibrated mirrors. So every human is a mirror to other humans, but the problem is that their mirror is distorted by their own desires, needs, ego, lack of clarity. So they reflect back a distorted picture back to you, which is why you feel differently around certain people. You feel like a better version of yourself around certain people, and you feel confused or around other people. It's because they're reflecting back to
So
you
true.
their own distorted internal state. And so when in the future, when you are around certain people that are calibrated mirrors, they will be able to reflect back to you exactly who you are, show you the things that are getting in the way, and instantly change you.
Interesting.
No teaching, no 2-year journey, no studying. That they'll be able to show it. Eventually, it's the other person's responsibility to step into that frequency, but it'll be totally clear. Like, this is who I'm meant to be. This is what's holding me back. And instead of processing and fighting all your trauma and trying to heal, you're just saying, "Oh, this is who I really am. Forget all that stuff. Let's just go in this direction right now."
So it's like
And
you're
so
giving them the space to be able to see themselves and come to their
you're
own realization.
you're emitting a frequency so high that
Mm,
they see who they really are, not
that's awesome.
not the masks of who they are. So that's to your point on communication.
Mm,
It's that teaching, and this is I have I've seen visions for it, and I just understand it deeply. The current education system, particularly in America, but everywhere, um, programs children into ways that they become slaves in computers and trapped.
yeah.
The level of the segregation by age. So imagine like a 3-year. I went to dinner with one of my friends. They have a 2-year-old daughter. Their daughter is clairvoyant. Like I've seen children that can bend spoons. You can see that. You can see children that can levitate and have all of these powers, and then either through their family, but most likely societal conditioning, social media, the education system, those powers get programmed out of them, and they operate, instead of operating where they're born at level 3 or level 4, they get pushed down to level 1 in fear, scarcity, materialism, linear time. And so the school education system and how it segregates children by age, how it creates the sense of authority that I have to raise my hand in order to go to the bathroom. And then that you have to go step by step and learn these certain things. Like the whole thing is totally broken. And there will be a different way for all humans to learn things than reading books and listening to podcasts. It won't go away completely, but humans will figure out how to fast track that through what I'll call frequency drops, for lack of a better word, that they'll just get it.
Are you this might sound like a bit of a curveball question given what you've just said, but I'll explain the context. Are you excited about AI in the sense that it's going to, I feel like, accelerate the rate at which humans have to change. Because our roles as a species on this planet is going to fundamentally change as AI becomes more and more sophisticated and starts taking over more and more jobs and careers. Like, we are going to have to change what we deem as humanity. The school system is going to be forced into changing, right? How do you see that? Do you think that's kind of serving, almost like serving a bigger purpose of helping us to evolve almost?
I don't. So one is that at some point in my evolution, I have removed the idea of subjectively labeling things as good or bad.
Mm.
It is the duality in the world of that person's too tall and I'm too short, or it's too that's good and that's bad because that's what I'm declaring it. All you're doing is you're sectioning off a little subjectivity and saying that is different than a different experience instead of just being like,
Yeah.
this is how it is. And
Yeah.
so duality must dissolve in order for you to reach levels like this. That happened to me years ago, where I just don't see things as good or bad anymore, but I'm tuned into it a lot more. Um, and so I think that it will push uh, and accelerate humanity in both directions. I think that it will accelerate the people that want to be computers and robots will be able to faster. Um, and
Yeah.
the
Fair point.
and the people like the development and evolution of society in the world will happen faster. Um,
Mm.
and I think it will open up. Uh, uh, there's going to be massive changes to how humanity and the world work in the next in by the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Things are just compounding and accelerating so fast. I mean, we're here, so we might as well hop on and go for a ride. Recognizing that it's going to happen with or without you is also really powerful. So now I just uh, play the role that I can and try to do the best that
Mm.
I can.
So how do you think, Chris, about like because you've mentioned a few times now, like listening to this, like almost like inner voice intuition. How do you differentiate between, because I think all of us have like multiple, without sounding like a schizophrenic, like multiple voices in our head,
Mhm.
right? In terms of like there's the doubtful voice, there's the ambitious voice telling us to do different things. How do we know what is our true voice? Like you've mentioned a few times about kind of more feeling of like, you've described like the twisting sensation in your stomach, and like how do you kind of tap into what is the truth, or the voice you should be listening to?
Mm, earlier on in the journey, there's a lot of distortion. So
Mm.
it's hard. The way there's a lot of distortion. So imagine that you're a radio tower and there's a bunch of different signals and they're like scrambled together because you're getting in the way of it. So it's all just static, right?
Yeah.
So and maybe like a little message comes, but you don't know what station it's coming from. You don't know what it is. You don't know what it should listen to. So in the beginning, because of ego, 3D conditioning, the things that I mentioned, it's just a bunch of static. The things that are important to know is the number one thing is discernment between signal and noise. Um, this is kind of what you had mentioned.
Mm.
Signal is pure. It is non-physical. So when something is right for you, you'll know, and your heart won't beat like you're anxious. You won't have your blood pressure rise. There'll be no physiological sensation around it, which is your body creating the thought. Um, So a pure signal, like in 2020, before I was even aware of this, I'm walking on the street and it's like, you should hire Megan Bowen. It's like, I've only met Megan once in my life. Like, where did this come from? Um, and it ended up being one of the best things that I did in my life. And then there's little ones where it's like, you should read that book. And somehow that book is like the perfect book to read at the perfect time.
Mm.
But there's a discernment. There's also can be, and everyone experiences this differently. So to me, it feels like clairaudience, like someone's telling me what to do. And then
Mm.
there's a clairsentience. I can feel like a magnetic pull. Like I felt a magnetic pull to move to Austin. Like this has to happen. And then there's a clairvoyance or like just a direct claircognizance, which is just I know. Like I don't need a visual or a hearing or anything. I just know this is what I should do. Everyone will experience that differently, but when you start to see it come from multiple angles, you can also narrow in that this is a pure signal. And then as you remove the distortions, the signal gets more and more clear. And as you listen to that signal, you get more and more clear signal.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's really interesting, actually, that you mentioned it's almost like it's the lack of physical sensations. Because, yeah, I guess that makes a lot of sense. Like, the mind, those intellectual layers are then what are creating those physiological, racing heart or whatever it is inside of us. So it's sort of like almost like the pure place is, actually that kind of source. It's a really fascinating way of looking at it. I've never really considered that before.
At this point now, at the beginning, that's how I would describe it. At this point now,
Mm.
there's things that happen to me that I'll call intuition hits, where whether if I'm writing, reading, or thinking, if I write or think a certain thing and it's right, my body will pulse like this is pulse and energy. This is right. This is right.
Mm.
This is right. And then I'll go and keep writing and it'll go away and I'll go back to that same thing and it'll go, this is right. This is right. This is right. And there are times where it happens to me 10 times a day, where it's like confirmation that this is the right thing. And then if I'm not, now I do get physical sensations, but it's not physiological. My heart racing. It's like I can feel a little thing in my stomach. I can feel pressure in my chest. It's resistance. I can feel resist. I can feel energy resistance in my body. And I'm able to, then I just see it for what it is. Like this is resistance. I'm not, it's a hint. That's what resistance is. It's a hint that that something is going on here that's not right for me. How can I recognize what it is and shift it as quickly as possible? And then when you
Yeah.
shift, you can shift it and immediately it goes away. And this becomes a really clear, one of the best skills that I've ever developed in my life is being able to sense and feel that for sure.
There might be people listening to this right now and thinking, Chris, that's really easy for you to say when you've had all of this success with your businesses. I've got a job. I need to provide for my kids, my family. I can't just, well, and this is the thing, maybe this is the paradigm shift they need to hear, but what would you say to those people who are in that kind of situation where, they are struggling to, maybe they need to put food on the table, they need to provide? How can they still, maybe they want to, they're listening to this and they're thinking like, this is really resonating with me. I feel this. I've felt these things before. I'm maybe they're trapped in this system. What's your kind of message or advice to people in that position?
Right. Yeah. Easy for you to say, bro. Like, you're rich. Like, no wonder you like looking for all the other freedoms. Like, yeah. And it's like, well, 6 years ago, I had $3,000 in my bank account and like 50 or 60,000 in student loan debt and started my company with no money in the bank, had to sell my car, get a roommate, like take major steps backwards from a material perspective,
Mm.
change my habits, do different things, stop going out, be alone for years because I didn't resonate with a lot of my previous friends and needed that space. Like many people are not comfortable going through that process, but you can. And so the number one, when the sentiment there is I'm a victim and I'm trapped and I'm stuck.
Mm.
And if you, if you believe that sentiment, you will remain trapped and stuck. And when you believe I'm empowered to make my own choices, I can control what I do. Money doesn't control me. Just because I have children doesn't mean that I can't accomplish things too. These are programmed beliefs that because I
Mm.
have
Mm.
kids and I need to put food on the table, that I need to I need to be responsible by having some shitty job that I drive to every day that keeps me trapped in this jail. And it's like, no, that is a programmed belief that makes you a slave. And so as long as you buy into the victim mentality of I don't have any control over any of these things, then you will remain trapped in a victim. Um,
Yeah.
and so the heart, the, the most surprising, the most like counterintuitive, thing for me across the whole thing, um, is realizing that everything that I experience starts in my brain, and that through my thought, I project energy into reality that creates what I experience. So when I think, I'm trapped and I'm stuck, I will see it as I'm trapped and I'm stuck. And if I feel, um, like easy for you to say, dude, like you have that stuff and I don't, then it puts you in a position that you don't realize that I did all the same stuff that you could do. Like
Mm.
you could
Mm.
also do those same things. Like you could work and reprogram your subconscious. You could take a step back materially, move into a smaller house or start renting or do other things and set yourself up to live a better life. Like,
Yeah.
and many people, because they're trapped, they won't take a step backwards. They won't sell their house and move into an apartment so they can launch their business. And they take one step backwards so they can go a trillion steps forward in the future, and they won't do it. So they stay stuck in that little material world. They won't sell their BMW and take the subway for 6 months. They won't. Um,
Mm. It's
and so
the lure of like having that kind of external signs of success, right? And it's not wanting to, downgrade our positions or our status in society is, yeah, it's flipping out. Yeah, it's scary to
keeps you
think about.
stuck, keeps you stuck.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say. And yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm not special.
Yeah.
I'm not like many people, have,
Or maybe we're all special, right?
yeah, or that's even a better way to put it. Yeah,
Yeah.
we all have it. Like I'm
Mm.
not unique or different. Everyone is
Yeah.
capable
Yeah.
of doing the same thing. I watch many people see what I have done in my life, follow the exact same path that I've done and have amazing success. And it's like that makes me super happy. Like do that. Um and so yeah, it's just the recognizing that you can too and believing it, I think is super powerful.
Yeah. Love it. Chris, this has been absolutely amazing. If anyone's listening to this right now and they kind of want to know more and they kind of want to go on this journey with you and, learn more about kind of how you've been able to tap into this, where can they find you? Like, what's the kind of best place? Are you like putting it on your same YouTube channel? Like, where are you going to be kind of documenting all
So
of
some
this?
of this is going on YouTube.
Mm.
And then there's a new podcast called We Are Encoded that's being published that I'm working on. It's sort of like right now it's been some interview format, but over time it's going to be documentation of sort of like what I'm finding. It's really like
Nice.
like a documentation of the self exploration that I'm doing.
Mm. Mm.
And then I'm like packaging the ideas and communicating them for the first time, mostly on Instagram. And so
Cool.
Instagram, my handle is Chris Walker 171. It's been a great place to create for me right now. And then when the time is right, and it's not at this moment, I'll work my way back to LinkedIn because I feel like there are a lot of people on that platform that could use this.
Mm. Interesting. What actually, one final question before we do wrap up on that note, because obviously it's kind of like you said earlier, right? I think people have to be kind of ready, and you can only be that kind of mirror for them to kind of make those changes in themselves. But like, obviously everyone's at a different stage of their journey. Like, is there something that you're being called to, or somewhere you mentioned like LinkedIn there? Like, what is your sense in terms of like where you're being called to, like where you are needed the most for your own, powers and what you're doing right now?
So this will like totally not make sense to almost anybody. It'll turn what they think upside down. Is that I no longer plan, no longer strategize. I only focus on today, right now.
Yeah.
And what it is right now is that, I don't feel compelled to share content on LinkedIn. I don't, uh, I'm in Costa Rica. Like I took a one-way ticket, and that's how I've been living all my life for the past like while. And it is so powerful that most people won't understand. So I feel what it is in the moment. I do that specific thing. I need to call someone. Good. My calendar is totally open. I can call them right this second. Like when something happens and I know I need to do something, I do it right that second. And it has been a total unlock of freedom and creativity and productivity. And so it feels so counterintuitive to everyone that lives through their calendar and blocks of schedules and things like that. But since I've shifted to this, I believe what I'm about to say 100%, that I get 10 to 100 times more done in 10% of the time. That my output has 100x to 1,000x what I used to do when I had a full fucking calendar 6 or 7 days a week. It's because I instead of taking step by step, like I need to do these things step by step. When you have enough open space, you can make quantum steps, where you can make 10x in a day instead of going 1% better every day, or whatever the mantra is, right? You can just make a big jump, and people think, oh, that's impossible. And your belief that is impossible means that you won't experience it.
I mean, it makes a ton of sense, because what you said earlier, right? Like if you've got a full calendar and it's all planned ahead, but then you have one of those feelings that tells you to do something different, you can't, because you've got a full calendar.
You can, but it would require you to let a bunch of people down.
Yeah.
Exactly. So so it makes you feel safe that you have things to do, and many people, because their calendar is full and they're doing stuff, it makes them feel productive and valuable. But when you actually zoom out and look, it's like 90% of the shit that I'm doing doesn't matter at all. It's not in my wheelhouse. It's not in my skill set. I'm sitting in fucking meetings about nothing. I'm interacting with people that I don't want to interact with. I'm in a sales conversation convincing someone who doesn't want to be convinced. Like, what am I doing here? Like, and when you step out and realize most of the stuff that you program in is effectively worthless, and it just fills your calendar. It's just, it's been and I tell people, it's like, people are like, oh, I want to get like an hour scheduled on your calendar. It's like, I don't schedule my time anymore. And if I do have it scheduled, I know that I can cancel it. So like plane tickets, right? Like if I book a plane and I end up saying, I have something I need to do, I'm not taking that plane, I can cancel the plane. I can get a credit on my money. I still have, even though it's booked, I have control. And so the same thing goes with people and meetings, right? If something was happening to me today and we had this thing booked and I was like, I have to do this, I can't, then I would cancel with you and feel no guilt or shame or obligation. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But I'm glad we got to talk, because this was dope.
Awesome, Chris.
Cool.
Thank you so much. We'll link to the Instagram and stuff in the show notes anyway, so people can follow you on there. Appreciate you coming out, dude. Thanks.